Protests spark in China for New Year's, this time over restrictions on how people can celebrate. Funeral homes in Shanghai overwhelmed by China's COVID-19 surge, but some scalpers are profiting off the situation. Despite the virus spread, some Chinese citizens in major cities attempting to return to normalcy. More countries placing restrictions on travelers from China, Beijing issuing a threat towards nations imposing the curbs. And are the US and South Korea holding nuclear talks? Both countries' leaders giving seemingly contradictory answers. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Ellie Hart, in for Tiffany Meyer. 1 month after the blank paper movement saw protests sparking across China, new demonstrations erupted again in at least 3 Chinese cities, this time during the New Year holiday. Thousands of people were reportedly involved. Monday night, citizens in central China's Henan province destroyed and flipped over a police car. This after police arrested a citizen for setting off fireworks in Zhoukou City. The angry crowd surrounded the vehicle, preventing officers from taking the citizen to a police station. Some protesters smashed the car's windshield and windows. Others climbed onto the car's roof and danced. In the end, they overturned it. At least 2 people were arrested on site. For years, the Chinese Communist regime has banned the use of fireworks across the nation. But some cities have since loosened the rule to allow citizens to fully celebrate the first New Year since COVID-19 lockdowns lifted. Though some cities kept the ban in place, the issue came to a head during the protest. In another video clip shared online, one protester is heard saying, quote, "People of Xuchang City, let's fight." Xuchang is another city in Henan province. On New Year's Eve, more than 1,000 people gathered in the streets there. They celebrated with fireworks despite a police presence on site. Over in northern China's Shandong province, one car set off fireworks while driving through the area, with a police car on its tail. Another car was stopped by a police officer, but the driver continued setting off fireworks anyway. Another video shows city workers using fire extinguishers to stop citizens from lighting the fireworks. Over in Nanjing City, a crowd of what appeared to be hundreds of people broke down a police blockade. It was set up to surround the statue of Sun Yat-sen. Sun is known as the father of the nation in Taiwan and the forerunner of the revolution in China. That's for his contribution in overthrowing China's last dynasty. He was a promoter of democracy. Elsewhere, a highway in Henan province saw New Year's Day protests. Hundreds of bank fraud victims gathered there to bring attention to the issue and demand their money back. The COVID-19 surge is overwhelming funeral homes in Shanghai, but a small group of people are cashing in on the situation by selling overpriced cremation slots. Here's the report.
The last day of 2022, a phrase started trending on Chinese social media platform Weibo. The tag reads, "Shanghai police crack down on funeral scalping." According to reports, these scalpers broker funeral services online, but charge an extra service fee of 50% or more. Others cut in line to get open slots, then resell them for hundreds of dollars. As crematoriums in Shanghai run on overload, queues and delays are straining families of the deceased. Many start lining up as early as 3 in the morning. One funeral home says they used to cremate maximum 90 bodies per day. Now that number is more than 400. We called 2 other funeral homes to ask about appointments.
We don't accept bodies from outside our district. We can't even handle those in this district. You should come to make an appointment in person, but it's unclear when your appointment can be processed.
Take the body here first, and then you come and make an appointment for cremation. There is no way to get cremation services today. The bookings are full. It's only available 3 days from now.
Meanwhile, patients are flooding hospitals in Shanghai.
Hospitals are full of people. Basically, all available medical equipment is in use, and many people are sleeping on the floor because there are no beds left.
According to media outlet The Paper, an official at Shanghai Ruijin Hospital said emergency cases have doubled, now hitting 1,500 cases per day. Of these, 40 to 50% are elderly. Another hospital cited long wait times for registration.
Certainly, there is a long wait. A lot of people come to the fever clinic 24 hours a day.
Similar scenes are playing out in other cities, including Beijing, Wuhan, Nanjing, Chengdu, and Guangzhou. China has only officially acknowledged around a dozen recent COVID-19 related deaths, but according to London-based research firm Airfinity, its cumulative death toll may have reached 160,000 since December 1st.
A spike in deaths among senior experts from China's top academic bodies. That's as the CCP virus sweeps across China. The CCP virus causes COVID-19. The most recent number, 24 top experts died in December last year. That's close to the number of experts who died in the entire year of 2021. They come from some of the country's most prestigious academic institutions, such as the Chinese Academy of Sciences and the Chinese Academy of Engineering. Their obituaries didn't mention if these experts died of COVID-19. That's as funeral homes across China are overflowing and infection numbers see a massive surge. Most of these experts are Communist Party members, their ages ranging from 80s to 90s. The youngest is 57, a Chinese biochemist and molecular biologist called Zhang Hualiang. Other examples include professors from Tsinghua University, a top school that has educated many of the party's leaders. The CCP virus, which causes COVID-19, is still sweeping through China. Despite the spread, some people in key cities braving a spike in infections. In an attempt to return to normal life, here's what's happening.
In Beijing, people gathered to sled or ice skate on a frozen lake in the city on Sunday, nearly a month after China dropped stringent zero-COVID measures to adopt a strategy of living with the virus. However, a wave of infections has since erupted nationwide. State broadcaster CCTV reported on Monday that frontline medical staff are working around the clock to treat COVID-19 patients. In this hospital in the eastern city of Nanjing, patients have flooded the intensive care unit, with 80% of its patients aged 65 and over, many of them with underlying health conditions. Many tourist attractions are opening up after shutting last August due to a COVID-19 outbreak. Monday's single new COVID death, flat from the previous day, does not match the experience of other countries after they reopened. China has said it only counts deaths of COVID patients caused by pneumonia and respiratory failure as being related to COVID. The relatively low death count is also inconsistent with rising demand reported by funeral parlors in several cities. According to British-based health data firm Airfinity, about 9,000 people are probably dying each day from COVID in China.
China arrivals in the UK won't be forced to quarantine if they test positive for COVID-19. British Transport Secretary Mark Harper confirmed this on Tuesday. British media reported that travelers from China will be offered voluntary COVID-19 tests at Heathrow, the only UK airport with direct flights from China. Harper said the testing is about collecting information due to Beijing's refusal to share its own data. The UK will take other precautions as well. From Thursday, passengers flying from China into England will be required to show a negative test result before boarding a plane. The UK government will also carry out surveillance testing of a sample of passengers. It's an attempt to spot new variants of the virus, which could pose a threat. The measures follow Beijing's decision to reopen borders on January 8th. A brief review of countries and regions that are placing new restrictions on travelers from China. The US, Canada, Australia, the UK, Israel, and France will require travelers from China to provide negative COVID-19 tests before boarding a plane. Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, Italy, Spain, and Qatar have begun or will start testing passengers from China upon arrival. Australia, Belgium, and Malaysia said they'll test wastewater off planes from China. The US is weighing whether to do the same. And Morocco is taking one step further. It would ban travelers from China, regardless of the nationality. With countries imposing new COVID-19 entry measures on travelers from China, Beijing is denouncing the moves. Officials called the restrictions unreasonable and unscientific on Tuesday. Beijing also vowed to reciprocate with corresponding measures on the countries imposing the curbs. The international restrictions on Chinese travelers come as Beijing prepares to reopen its border on January 8th. It's just over a month after China pivoted away from a zero COVID-19 policy. On the other hand, for nearly 3 years, China's borders have stayed all but shut to foreigners since early 2020. The European Union is offering free COVID-19 vaccines to Beijing to help contain the virus. An EU spokesman said a health commissioner has reached out to her Chinese counterpart. The EU assistance will include public health expertise along with donations of variant-adapted vaccines. As of now, it's unclear which or how many vaccines will be supplied, but Beijing appeared confident in its domestic vaccine rollout. Asked whether China would accept the EU offer, a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson sidestepped a direct reply. She stretched China's vaccination rate and treatment capacity, adding that outbreak is, quote, controllable. According to the World Health Organization, the efficacy of the Chinese-made Sinovac vaccine is only around 50%. South Korea reaffirming that it's discussing some form of nuclear cooperation with Washington. That's after Biden denied discussing joint nuclear exercises with South Korea.
President Biden, are you discussing joint nuclear exercises with South Korea right now?
Biden's remark comes after the South Korean president's statement about nuclear cooperation. He said in an interview on Monday that both countries are discussing potential joint exercises using U.S. nuclear assets. After Biden's remark, a top advisor for South Korea's president published a statement. In it, she said both countries are discussing intel sharing, joint planning, and subsequent joint execution plans over the management of U.S. nuclear assets in response to North Korea's nuclear threats. South Korea doesn't have nuclear weapons, but it's under a U.S. protection agreement called the Nuclear Umbrella. It means Washington would use means including nuclear weapons to defend South Korea if needed. Artificial intelligence is considered the next area the world's superpowers are competing in. Experts believe whoever wins the race will ultimately hold the crown of global power. We sat down with Casey Fleming, CEO of Black Ops Partners.